Hello, guys, and we're on another episode of Penny for My Thoughts. Today, I want to talk about how I just feel like there's always, especially in social media, how it's always seemed to be like some type of competition between men and women, how men are, how women are, and men act like, every woman is this way, and women act like every man is this way, and it's always some type of stereotype or statistic, or it's just a lot of like negativity all the time, and always debates and this and that and all this other stuff, and social media definitely flares it up. I mean, it just does. Or you see like dating shows and pop balloons and all that type of stuff. I mean, I don't really get into that, but it's just like, to me, it's like if everyone debates all day, or say you're this, you're that, how's anybody gonna have successful relationships, or have successful feelings by if you're listening to what everybody else say? And I feel like a lot of times, people have bad experiences, and they pretty much just put that bad experience to everybody. And I feel like that goes for men and women. Women have a bad experience with a couple men, and they just feel like men is all like that. Or men have women, and they just feel like they're all like that. And then they go online and start spreading all that, and then there's a debate, and then there's an argument, and then it's just like everybody is not the same. I mean, and then you go on like social media and stuff like that, or even like like here on YouTube, and you see comments of, oh well, this is this way, and I've had this, and that's how they are, and blah blah blah, and it's just like there are millions of people in the world that everybody is different. Yes, there are some shallow men, there are some shallow women on both sides, and it's just a debate. Who's worse? The both of you are. I mean, and it's just it's just so much. It's enough negativity in the world. It's so much negativity, and yes, there's some terrible men, and there are some terrible women, and then there's some terrible men and women that get together, and they're just terrible with each other, or maybe they weren't terrible, and they had bad experiences, and then they just turn terrible, and everybody after they get with is terrible. And I just feel like putting that on everybody is just a problem. I have a personal issue with even like men, particularly, like how like they got this new thing where if a man know how to cook, or if a man got feelings, he's sassy, and like, what does that mean? A man is a human being. A man has feelings. And I know there's that stereotype of men are supposed to be tough and this and that and all the other type of stuff, but a man is a human being. They cry, they're sad. There are some women that have strength, and they don't really know how to be vulnerable, and stuff like that. So it's like vice versa. you know they're just on. We're human, and to debate all day about it, of who's worse. Well, women, they all just want money. No, they don't. Men, they're all just cheaters. No, they're not. Not all men are cheaters. Not all women want money. Not all women are cheaters. Not all men just want money. And there are some women that are good parents. There are some women that are horrible parents. There are some men that are good parents. There are some men that are horrible parents. There are some men that are very, very trustworthy, and they are with their women, and that's who all they want. They don't think about any other woman. They don't think about, it don't matter who's in their face, what's being put in their face, whether it's on social media or whether it's in person. They love their woman. There are some women like that too. They don't care about if a man got one man got more money than their man do or whatever, they love their man. Period. And I feel like, and I see so much of, even like when people say stuff like that, there's always somebody like being negative and saying, oh, well, you're sure this and you're sure that. Why? Why can't it just be a positive situation? There are millions of people in the world. Not everybody feel the same. And, some people don't really like sharing how they feel, or their mind or their thoughts get turned around because of what everybody else say, or, different influences and everything else. And that's why, I even say that, like, social media isn't a negative thing, but it's the people that make it negative. you know Even like some of these like celebrities or whatever, they get in relationships and this and that, and then once the world don't, they say this and that. And I honestly feel like a lot of them don't last because of that, because of the world and everything else. And that's why some of them keep their stuff to themselves, and then the world, they get mad about that. But it's just like, why not? Because it's just so many people that's just so negative, and that negativity is louder than the positivity. There's you read some comments, there's positive comments, but sometimes that negativity is very loud. And those be the loudest people. And some of them are bitter and they're negative, and or maybe they just had a bad experience with one person and they just don't like nobody. And it's just so much negativity in the world. And with social media, since it flares it up, it's really all you see sometimes is just debates. And then they got names for stuff, and I don't even know some of the terms, like red pill and high value and all this other stuff. And it's just like, what does that mean? Why can't you both be high value? Why to can't you just be on the same playing field? Why value yourself higher than this person, or due to money or this and that or whatever? And that goes for men and women. There's women that say, oh, men is this and men is that, and or there's men that say women this is, women is that. I'm a woman. I can say there are some terrible women. I would never say, just because I'm a woman, I just agree with everything that women do, everything that women say. There are some terrible women that think horrible. They only, some of them only care about themselves. Some of them don't, they move from one man to the next, or, they're on social media just looking for who they can feed off of or whichever. And, that I feel like, people think that everybody is that way, and it kind of like sets the tone. And I don't feel like that's right, because it's just like I say, it's millions of people that have different personalities, that have different perspectives. There are even men or women that maybe they used to think that way, but they've grown, and they've come to terms with, okay, hey, the way I thought isn't the way I should think. That was a younger me. And there's a quote that says, and I know I wrote quotes, but I didn't write this quote, that says, like, sometimes you just got to meet somebody that'll show you that they're not all the same. Sometimes you do. I mean, there are some men that have nothing but horrible women, and they get, with a very good woman, and that changes their perspective. Sometimes it doesn't always. Sometimes they treat her just, they just feel like they kind of sabotage themselves. There's some women, the same thing. They've had nothing but horrible men, and they get with one that actually love them and treat them better, and it changed their perspective. But then again, you got to be open-minded too. But, a lot of the stuff that's out there, like, you do got to take it with a grain of salt. You really do. I mean, some of it is true, but it doesn't fit for everybody. And I feel like the debates is just like, how is anybody getting with anybody if all you do is debate, and you're wrong because of this and you're wrong because of that? Everybody has a different perspective. Men or women are different. They think differently. Sometimes they think the same. There are some women that can think like a woman and think like a man in certain aspects. And there's some men that can, think, that, and not necessarily think, but basically putting yourself in that person's shoes. Basically, if you're a woman and you could put yourself in a man's shoes, I really could say, I mean, you're not necessarily thinking like a man, but you're putting them in your shoes. Or a man, putting himself in a woman's shoes. If we had more of that, then, maybe it wouldn't be so much of these debates and these competitions and all this other stuff. Because I feel like it's negative too. I don't even like watch some of the stuff that be out. Like, I mean, you can go on like YouTube or whatever, or the different platforms, and there's shows that are asking questions, or judging, a man or a woman by this or that or whatever. And just like, it's all, I mean, it's supposedly supposed to be for entertainment, but some of it is like demeaning and judgmental. And it's just like, is this because, are these things because you're actually trying to find somebody, or is it just all for entertainment? Like, is everything just for entertainment? And I feel like, not all of us like that type of stuff. Not all men like that. Not all women like that. Some of us would rather watch something educational. I would. I would rather watch something educational than to, watch a debate between men and women. Like, I'm personally getting tired of it, honestly. And then, like, when you say, like, even me, I'm a person that I have my own perspective and I put my own, but even there's other people I've seen, that they'll say things like that and they get attacked, and they're like, oh well, people are attacking them. But everybody doesn't like to debate about how bad or women or men are, or watch content of them basically just demeaning each other, supposedly, looking for love, supposedly, looking for somebody to connect with. And really, this is all entertainment for everybody else. And everybody can question how many times you've demeaned somebody's outfit, or judge them by, what they look like, or judge them by their occupation or whichever. I mean, and then on the flip side, you get people that say they're so alone, and they can't find. But there's so many of the negativity going on, so many debates. Nobody's standing each other. Now, I can't say that that's all there is. It's not. But like I say, like, some of the negative stuff is just, it's always reposted all the time, and it's just entertainment and kiki and ha. But it's just like, sometimes you just be like, this is negative. And and it just also like feeds in stereotype of men, feeds in a stereotype of women, of what each other think each other is, when really a woman can't read every man's thoughts. A woman can't read every woman's thoughts. A man can't read every woman's thoughts. A man can't read every man's thoughts. And then, there's also this culture of, a man has to be sassy because he has feelings. A man has to be sassy because he's ordering this or ordering that. Like, I've seen some of the craziest stuff that makes no sense at all. We are human beings. A man is sassy because he cares. A man is sassy because he cooks for his family. A man is sassy because he cares about his wife, and he's not, or his girlfriend or his fiance, and he's not, looking for others and being in other women's face and whatever. He got to be sassy because of that. Like, what does that mean? And not only just women think this, there's other men that say the same thing. And it's just like, is this the culture now of, like, what does that mean? Does the sassy mean weak? Or does sassy mean feminine? Because as a woman myself, not everything, I mean, not everything, women aren't always prissy and super feminine either. Me personally, I fit in. I'm a little tomboy. I'm a little, girly. I'm kind of, both. I don't like the color pink. My favorite color is blue. Actually, I can wear heels and I can wear sneakers. I put on Timberlands. So, like, what does that mean? And I feel like it's judgmental. I really do. And it's just like, I've seen, okay, oh, if a man, orders a margarita, he's sassy. If a man, orders dessert, he's sassy. Like, what does that mean? And I hear it a lot out of women's mouth, and then, I hear men following right back up with it. What does that mean? It's you're a human being. Like, you can't like what you want to like. You're human. Or if a man is sad, but he's a human being though. If a man, shows his love for his family, I kid you, I've seen these things, or he's a simp. If he shows love for his woman and openly be like, hey, I don't want any other woman, I'm fine with her, he's a simp. Or he's weak. But then if you turn around, if he's a womanizer, then he's getting bashed from women for that. But then again, on that flip side, he's getting a high five from men for that. And it's just like, I mean, we don't all think the same. We don't. And also, some of us women care about how our men feel. And I know, with all the negativity in the world and with all this, men supposed to be this and women supposed to be this, you wouldn't be able to tell. But a lot of us do. A lot of us care about, we have men in our lives, how he feel. We do. We care about how he thinks, how his day went, and that's why, even toxic masculinity is a thing. And society feeds into it, and especially social media, if a, or I've seen a man is sassy because he taking care of his kids and stuff like that, or if he's out with the park with his kids and the woman isn't with him, those are his kids. He's a human being. Like, tea break. I have to drink tea on this conversation because it's just same, with women. I've seen somebody say, well, if a woman that is in a committed relationship, or, she's in a marriage, whatever, she's on social media, then she's doing wrong. Why? Just because that's what everybody else is doing? No, that is not. Some women, and I'm one of them, if I'm on social media, just the way I am when I do these videos is the way I am on any social media. I promote positivity, motivation, inspiration, realness, and, my quotes and my poems. And I'm married, and I love my husband, and he loves me, and we have been faithful to each other. And we don't get into these debates about with other people, because why do we need that type of negativity? We don't even think like that. I mean, we don't. And just because certain women are on social media and they're in committed relationships and they're doing all type of stuff and this and that, yes, that does happen, but not all of them. Not every man on social media is looking for other women or talking to other women. So there's also like men that, that don't mind giving a woman their, that she sees his social media or his password or something like that or whatever. Then you get other people say, oh well, he's a simp. I mean, it's just, and I'm not the only one that has spoken on this. There are other people that have spoken on, like, why. I've heard, people call married men that are good to their women and everything else simps. They're married. Like, it just makes no sense. Like, everybody is not the same. Every woman is not the same. Every man is not the same. Every relationship is not the same. There are some trustworthy men and there are some trustworthy women. There are some shallow, terrible men and there are some shallow, terrible women. On both sides. And I just feel like all you really hear is the debates. And, that's how women are and that's how men are. But, you're putting that on everybody. And, and it's high five. If a woman say, oh, well, men this, it's high five by other women like, yeah, no. And there's other women that, want to be a yes man to other women, and I'm not one of them. I have my own perspective. If I hear a woman say, oh, well, all men are cheaters, not to me. And I mean, call me whatever you want to, not to me. Or there's men that, that other men would say, oh, well, women this way, and they won't agree, and then they'll get flack for it. So what? Like, you don't have to think like everybody else. God made us individuals, individual minds, individual perspectives. Sometimes we share perspectives, and then sometimes you just need another perspective. But it's just so negative. All the debates is negative. Like, you hear podcasts, who's more high value, who's this or that. You got gurus, the so-called gurus that are saying, oh, well, you don't need to be with this person because they're not high value and this and that. What does God say? God created us. And I'm not taking it to a religion because I know there's other people that believe other, but we have a creator. And, that to me is almost judgmental of saying you're not going to deal with them because they're not so-called high value. What is high value? Okay, granted, if you're ambitious and, you want to make something of yourself and stuff like that, yes, you want that to be, but you never know. You never know. You never know what somebody's going to be. You never know who they're going to be. You literally never know. They can be, working at McDonald's and be a millionaire in the next minute. You never know, because God have a different path for everybody. I mean, and not even to mention that there are people that are so-called high value that have money, they can lose everything tomorrow. So what is high value? What is low value? Can't we all value each other as a person? I mean, because, we're having debate on things like money and status and stuff like that. And you'll miss out on really good people because you're worrying about the status and the cookie cutter, whatever. And then you get with a horrible person because they're so-called high value in every other category, and then you didn't know that really they were just so bad for your mental and and you're abusive or whatever. And men and women can be abusive, not just men, women too. And I really feel like it does go both ways. I really do. And it's just, And people, like, a lot of people, have the same perspective I do, but they don't want to say it because, they get attacked or this and that. And some people are bold, just like me, and we're going to give our opinion of not leaning on one side. Me, like I said, me personally, just because I'm a woman don't mean I agree with everything women do or everything women say or, whichever, in whatever situation. I will literally, if there's a man, if there's a woman and the woman's wrong, you're wrong, period. Like, I don't have to be your yes man just because I'm a woman. And then, there's also women that say this, agree with, certain things, and then they gotta be, oh, well, they just want to go to the other side or whatever. No. What's right is what's right. Like, it shouldn't matter who you're talking to. It shouldn't matter, whatever the group you're in or whatever. What's right is what's right. Or just be neutral. It, like, you can agree with both. You can agree with certain things on both sides, but some stuff is just nonsense. I mean, it really is. It's nonsense and it's negativity. And a lot of people call out, the negativity, and then they get, flack for it, and then they kind of like back down sometime. I'm not one of those people because, it's just negativity. I mean, to say everybody is the same, or all of this is all men are this way and all women are this way and they're this way with each other, and just because a certain amount is doing this or a certain amount is doing that don't mean everybody is the same. All men aren't the same. All women aren't the same. And I'm not even going to get into, some of the other stuff because, pronouns and genders, and I don't touch any of that. I'm just saying when it comes to, relationship stuff wise that I see of how, like, men are always bashing women and women always bashing men, and a lot of things you can agree to disagree on or agree with each other, but it just seemed like sometimes it's just so much so much negativity. And I mean, I'm pretty sure this negativity been hanging around, but now the social media and the world is, you just see a lot of it, and it's just debates all the time. And people even debate with, married people. It's a lot of married people, and they tell what's going on, and people debate about and try to cause confusion and everything, and like it's just a bunch of unfiltered negativity. And you don't have to agree with everything, but agree just at least to disagree sometimes. That's all I'm saying. But it was another opinion of my thoughts. And like I always say, keep your mental healthy.